So it's New Year's Eve 2022. AJ and I decided this would be a pretty cool day to just come out and see what we could find in the woods to eat. We're just gonna count as many edible things as we can. So if we were out here on a survival trip, what would we look for to eat? The good news is it's been pretty wet winter so far. We had a pretty good dry spell and then a lot of rain. It got really cold 2 weeks ago and now it's warmed up at 60 degrees today. So I would expect we'll find a lot of oyster mushrooms. I'd really like to find some enoki or velvet foot mushrooms, and then wild plants too. We're gonna look and see if we see anything hanging on or sprouting. Dried berries. I don't know. We're gonna look for anything we can find and see what we can get out here. So, all right, here's our first find, AJ. And these are pretty fresh. So these are oysters. The way they look here, you can tell what happened is they started to grow and then they got nipped by the cold, but they're still fresh. So we're gonna pick these and put them in the bag. Here's our oysters. Now, let's look right down the same tree. And we've got some tree ears. So, oh, that one's already been pulled off. These are really common in Asian soups. You can cut them into little strips and they add kind of this chewy little crunch. They're a really nice flavor they add to a soup. It's not really a mushroom you'd eat standalone, like as a fried mushroom, but they're really nice as an additive, and they're very healthy too. They've got a lot of medicinal value. Show the bottom. Show the bottom. Put them in the bag. Okay, so here's a winter edible. Chickweed can handle cold weather. This tastes an awful lot like corn, and you can find it underneath the snow sometimes. This is a really nice one to know because it can be found in some of the cold weather when no other plants are growing. So it's good fresh, it's good cooked, tastes like corn silks. That's usually how it's described, and I think it's pretty accurate. Chickweed.
To find little flakes for a fire.
Yeah, oh yeah, that would be. Beaver's been hungry. He's taking down quite a few trees here. Got one over there, got one right there.
Beavers are weird.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do.
But check this out. Look at this. Somebody has had a little shanty down here before the water rose yesterday. Like a nice place to live. What do you think? It's the one thing I don't like about our area we live is so many people dump junk in the river. It is just everywhere. We pick it up constantly, but I mean, it is at an industrial level. There is so much trash and debris, and stuff like this just adds to it. Look, they still got their lantern over there. I mean, I'm sure that's kind of a homeless situation there, but. Okay, right here. See this? This is garlic mustard. So this is a weed that's spread across the country, and it's an edible. You'll know this one. It's got kind of a, I don't know, a deeply concave heart-shaped leaf. But crush it up, give it a good smell. It'll have that nice garlicky, oniony smell. Personally, it's not one of my favorite wild edibles, but from top to bottom, the plant is edible. Someday I'd like to try using the roots for something. I haven't done that yet, but for now, I've just used the new growth, but this is one you can find in the colder months. It's edible fresh, but it's not good. Well, a lot of times we'll find things we don't know, and we just take some video and go back and try to figure it out. So this is a vine dropping these really cool little red seeds from what would have been a little type of berry. The vine's going all the way up the tree, I think. So they're all over the ground here. I don't know, that's an interesting one. So this is the remnant of a veiled oyster. This would have been sticking up. It would have been a great big mushroom when it was, before it rotted, and a very edible and tasty one too. A little bit past now. Got slippery tops and should be black, sort of velvety stem. So down towards the base of the stem of an enoki, it's going to get sort of velvety. Now these are so wet you can't really tell, but this is an enoki. This batch will get a lot bigger. These mushrooms will get pretty good size, but we're pretty close after the rain that's caused them to grow. So at the moment, this is all the bigger they are. So we may go ahead and take this batch just to put it in our collection. Edibles. You can see how similar it was to that one we were finding earlier, but the other one was small enough I didn't have a whole lot of confidence in it. Now, this batch here isn't as extreme how it darkens at the bottom, but it does. It gets a little darker down here towards the bottom. There's a couple other key points on the gills. I'll try to include that in the video here, but I don't know why I say that. Obviously, if I do it, I'm going to do it and I'm going to edit that out. So why do I? Yeah, anyway. Here's the mushroom. These are the same enoki mushrooms you can buy in a lot of Asian food stores, but big difference is when they commercially grow these, they really grow them away from light, and light has a big impact on these mushrooms. So they look almost like albino when you buy them in the store, and they're long and stringy, but they're plump and colorful when you find them out here naturally. So might also have something to do with the substrate they're growing on that adds to their color. It's our enoki or velvet foot mushroom. So here's one that's really small. This is a wild carrot. Okay, now the thing, especially when they're this small, you gotta be really careful of, is there are some poisonous lookalikes for this. And when it's this small, you're not gonna have any real root to speak of. But what you do to make sure you've got a wild carrot, you wanna make sure you've got some little hairy spines growing on the stem. This plant's also called Queen Anne's lace. But then, crush it and smell it. It should smell like a carrot. It's a mild herbal carrot smell. It smells carroty. So this is one of the more pleasant wild herbs you can find. I don't generally harvest these in enough quantity to really eat them, but to just add them to a salad where you've got some dandelion or something like that, this adds a nice flavor. Wild carrot. Remember how I mentioned a little bit of a trash problem in this area? Here you go, right here. Look at this. This is an active dump site. People are driving back here, dumping their garbage here. And man, this just irks me. So, I don't know. Maybe someday I'll come out here and spend some time trying to clean it up and then catch the turkeys doing this. Here's a good edible here. These are still in pretty good shape. This is a sorrel. I believe this is sheep sorrel. So, if I can get the root. Nope, couldn't get the root. Oh well. But that's a nice, tasty edible. A little muddy for me to try that one. So if you look for tree ears right after the rain, they get really plump. If you look right here, see this one? This one didn't get moisture in it because it's got its stem broken. So you can find these when it's dry. They're just shriveled up and teeny tiny on the tree. But right after the rain, they'll whoop, turn great big like this. These have been chewed on a little bit. So I don't know if I'm gonna mess with harvesting these, but that's what they look like right there. See why they call them ears. Yeah. Now tree ears are one that does clean up easily because you can just soak them in water, shake them around, and they release the dirt really well because they don't have gills. So I wouldn't hesitate to harvest them dirty, but if I got the option, I'll always just take the clean ones, and there's so many out right now. I don't need to take dirty mushrooms. I could hear them coming. It's just everywhere in this county. This is where I found probably my best oyster find ever. And it was a winter find in these woods. 3 years ago, all the oysters had popped through here and they had dried on the tree, and I was able to come through and harvest them. And I picked so many, 3 years later, I'm still using them. In fact, I almost stopped specifically oyster mushroom hunting because I had so many dried and preserved. And I didn't even have to dry them. They were all prepared on the tree. So not seeing them today though. Seems like in the river bottoms like this, because this area does flood, it seems like here you don't find ground mushrooms, and you don't find the oysters or the tree mushrooms as often, but when you do, they come out in massive flushes. So, and a lot of times winter is the better mushroom hunting time for river bottoms. That's what that's worth. Here's some more little enokis. See these little velvety stems under here? But I'm not gonna take them, there's not enough there. I think in about 2 days, these will all be really big and plump. That'd be probably the best time to come out and get all these little patches. They'll have filled out and they'll be nice big mushrooms. Here's a little oyster find. Yeah, pretty young, just starting to grow, but we're gonna take them. Got them. Ooh. So this is one that's grown a little bit before it got really cold, kind of nipped itself, and now it's gotten wet again. So this one would probably start rotting on us pretty quick if it didn't dry out very fast. But since we're here, we're gonna eat them. Nice batch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is gonna be fun. There you go. Pull the whole bark off. Boom! Hey! That works.
Or whatever those are. Oh, those are ants huddling their ant queen. Oh, that's like a queen ant, I think, with ants huddling around the queen.
Is the camera getting it good?
Yeah. So that's the queen ant, I think. With ants huddling around. It's really hard to see on the camera. And there's more up here. So there's the queen ant a little bit separate. And all of these ants, they're starting to wake up now. Yeah, there's one last little bark bit.
Oh, they stayed, didn't they? Did they fall?
Yeah, yep, all.
So sometimes Mother Nature preserves the mushrooms on the tree and sometimes she doesn't. So even though these are in pretty good shape, they have a lot of mold on them. So if we dried these and used them, they'd probably have quite a funk from that. You could scrape it off. There's probably ways we could make use out of it, but we're not at a shortage of mushrooms. So since these have the mold on the top of them, we're just gonna leave them.
Pungent smell.
These are black-footed polypore. Not really an edible, but they have been used to make like a parchment because they're really tough. And so I guess you can dry them and soak them and work them and make almost like a paper. See how tough it is? It's like leather. Someday I'll try it. See if I can make something out of them. This is what they look like when they're raw in here. This is a patch that's started to dry and is not molding. If you look back, you can probably tell why. We're deeper in the woods. The wind's gonna be a little more subdued. There's gonna be a little more, things are gonna dry out a little slower deep in the woods. Now that we're right on the edge of the woods, a patch like this is drying right on the tree. And that, in the winter, is just about the best case scenario for oysters because you have them already preserved by Mother Nature. So these are maybe 30% dried. They're still a little pliable and perfect for harvest. And actually, I think they might taste the best that way because when they've got their reduced moisture content, if I take those home tonight and I throw them in a saute with some butter, they'll rehydrate and sort of soak in the flavor of whatever you throw them with, whether it's a red sauce or white sauce, a little butter. They'll soak it up and just taste phenomenal. Oh, I don't think I can quite get there, can I? Maybe I can knock the bark off. Sometimes you can take all the bark off. Oh, get the mushrooms. Broke my stick. Woo! Whee! Here we go.
Very
Oysters.
nice.
Perfect little bunch there. It's one of my favorite spots. It's where Sugar Creek meets the Wabash River. Caught a lot of good fish here. It's a very muddy river, but it's moving really slow right now. It's normally like this. This would be a good spot to come out and look for smallies or sawguy or something like that. Jump it.
Jump it.
Jump it. I can't believe you did that. I didn't think you were gonna do it.
A tree and knocked our phones down into the water.
Yeah, that'd be pretty fun. Anything up in here? Smell it.
Darn.
Sorry, didn't fall in. Doc, I don't think he's gonna make it. Oh, he smells bad.
I think he'll make it if we cut off the head, cut off the body, and put him up to a.
You cut his body off, so gonna help him make it?
Yeah.
You're a terrible doctor.
Got my degree online.